Hi, very good afternoon to you. It's Jim from maverickstar Observatory. It's a very interesting title, wouldn't you agree? And there is a message, really, for all those very wealthy people that consider themselves millionaires and billionaires. And we may even have 1 or 2 trillionaires knocking around in our world these days. It's a huge amount of money, and, you know, they are not immune to everything else the rest of us are. And right now we may even attract 1 or 2 of these because of the title that's there. And I just want to say, you know, welcome to the club, because you may have thought, even if you are in the know of some of the things that are coming down, which are going to affect everyone, including yourselves, you're not going to avoid 3 things, and I'll get to them at the end of the video. I'll show you some charts so that you can see exactly what we're talking about. But you ain't getting away with nothing, and it doesn't matter what you plan and prepare. You know, you're probably going to be worse off than the rest of us because of your wealth, and you've drew a big target on your back. And you know, you might, even after watching this video, think, well, okay, I'll do what perhaps Jeff Bezos has done and some of the other people have done, maybe even Bill Gates, you know, will follow suit. It's too late in the game. If you're here watching this video right now, it's too late. You're done. You know, you've got your money now, you've got your wealth now, but it ain't going to do you no good. You're in the same boat as the rest of us, and that is because the people that have been informing you have not been informing you correctly, because what they've been telling you, very likely, is what you've wanted to hear. You didn't want to hear from a real scientist telling you some of the things that are coming down the road. You didn't want to hear about the return of a glacial period that we're already 2,000 years into, and for the last 10 years we've had Arctic ice rebound to the tune of 3 million square kilometres. That's the same area. In fact, it's bigger than the area of Europe, covering England and Ireland, as well as a lot of other area. In the last 10 years, there hasn't been a single year which has gone less. It's always increased. And I know that might come as a shock to you, because you've probably got posters and, you know, pillowcases with Al Gore's face on them because you love his arse so much, because he's the one who told you, and all these other experts like Michael Mann, who come up with the ice hockey chart for you to convince you and all the others out there that global warming was actually being caused by CO2. And it's not. CO2 is a trace gas. We talk about it a lot on this channel, and a trace gas means it's hardly anything. It's just a trace of something. And the amount of CO2 in our atmosphere right now is 0.04%. And just to give you a bit of an analogy of that, if I dropped 0.4% in 1 litre of clear water of blue dye and then stirred it round, you wouldn't know it was there. And a trace of anything is never going to affect anything by a great deal. And, you know, this is screwing up the economy globally. We have made too many changes for the wrong reasons and expected these changes to be done in too little time. We are never going to achieve net zero by 2030, and you're delusional if you think that we are, or anybody else out there. And the reason for that is because there has been millions, if not, well, there has been billions spent on trying to achieve that target already in the last 20 years, and they've grossed around about 7 or 8% of that target. So 7 or 8% of 100% is what they've achieved. Now, in the next 7 years, do you really believe that they can do better than what they've did in the last 20 years and only achieved 7%? We are 93% off target, and it's not going to be achieved. And if they put any more pressure on the global economic system, it will, if it hasn't already gone beyond the point of no return. It is already fractured the foundations of the global economic system. So the penny is going to drop even for you millionaires at some point, and there'll be no avoiding it. Now, it's probably around about 98% of the world's population are afforded in this knowledge that we're going to reveal a little bit later on. Our primary objective at this observatory is monitoring the magnetic North Pole, because it might come as a surprise to some people that it is in fact actually moving, has been for the last 100 years. This movement is classified as a reversal, and for the first time in 12,000 years, when there was a last excursion, which was a reversal that took place but didn't hold its current positions like it used to many thousands of years ago. For instance, the last completed reversal that held its current positions was 780,000 years ago. And since the 1900s, the poles on our planet have become they have began migrating. They've left Canada and they are tracking easterly towards the central Russia at this point in time. We know that they have surpassed at least 90 degrees, at least 40 degrees. And that's a critical point. Based on some of the experiments that we have conducted here at this observatory, it shows that when it gets to around 40 degrees, the strong field lines, which enables a slow migrating magnetic North Pole, enters new territory, which is called the weak field lines, and the magnetic poles speed up exponentially from that point. They accelerate a lot quicker. Now, the problem is with this is, as those people that have been following me now for quite some time will know, is that we are at the moment subjected to 20 to 25% reduction in the Earth's magnetosphere, which is our primary protective shield against harmful solar rays or solar winds. And that means that we've got 20 to 25% more inbound in our upper atmosphere. As a result of the collisions in our upper atmosphere, we have been for the last 100 years, and more recently been subject to a scientific term classed by NASA as sputtering, which is an erosion of our upper atmosphere very slowly, which will accelerate when we reach those weak field lines and the poles migrate much quicker. So you are at this present time 20 to 25% more likely to get cancer as a result of those extra solar winds that are now coming through our weakened upper atmosphere, which is our primary protective shield. And you are also, which you may not be aware of, 20 to 25% more likely to suffer cardiac arrhythmias, which is heart failure, as a result of that, because cosmic rays causes heart failure, or at least cardiac arrhythmias. So those are two things you might want to concern yourselves about. You can't hide from these things. Even if the Biden administration go ahead with the plans for a space program which is going to block out the sunlight, it won't block out the solar radiation, because not even if you had 8 feet of lead, you still wouldn't be able to block out the harmful radiation. It would just travel through it like a hot knife cutting through ice cream. So this is very real, and the big issue here is that when we get into the weak field lines, we will get an acceleration, but we will also get a further decline in the magnetosphere protective shield, and those rates that we talked about, 20 to 25% increase in cardiac arrhythmias and cancer, will increase at the same rate as the depleting magnetosphere. I mentioned just very briefly that we are going through we are returning, should I say, back into a glacial period. This in its own right has consequences for us, and we are already seeing some of the impacts as a result of this over the last 15 to 20 years, and that is leading to arable cropping land around the world slowly decaying and going offline. There is a lot of maps out there where you can see the land which has been set up now not for use as a result of the climate that has been changed by the inbound cosmic rays that have affected the jet streams. If you go back in the few of the videos that we've done, we explain it in a little bit more detail how that happens, but basically that is why we are getting climate change on our planet. So we have covered the glacial period and the returning of the magnetic pole reversal, as we term it on this platform. But there is one other event which is not helping us at all, and that is the grand solar minimum. And this is, as you can check if you like, we've talked about it and presented the evidence many times for you guys so that you know it's real. What the grand solar minimum is every 11 years we go through a complete new solar cycle, and for the last 3 solar cycles we have seen an exponential decrease in solar activity, and this has led to our secondary protective shield, which is known as the heliosphere, shrinking back in on the solar system. And that is because there isn't enough solar activity in regards to sunspots, which allows the heliosphere to inflate usually past our solar system. So we have, as a result of that, more outer solar system cosmic rays, outer galactic cosmic rays inbound, not just into our solar system but also inbound in our upper atmosphere. And then you can multiply this disaster which is taking place by the fact that our primary shield, due to a magnetic reversal, is also weakening and is set to weaken more rapidly in the not too distant future. So it doesn't make any difference how much money you have. What makes a little bit of difference is whether you have put some provisions up, and you don't need to be a millionaire or a billionaire to do that. Now you might be wondering why you haven't heard this on the mainstream media, and that's a question that a lot of us are asking right now. Why aren't the mainstream media talking about any one of these 3 major anomalies that have returned and that are back present in our day right now? Why aren't the mainstream organisations, willfully and openly talking about this? Because these are very, very serious topics and they are taking place, and at least one of them, when we talk about the magnetic reversal, is about to gear up to possibly accelerate not just the distance in the time it usually travels, but also in the reduction of our protective primary shield. So there's just a few things for you to chew over. Now guys, I've heard it in the comments section many times, and I can completely concur with you and agree. It is like the film, isn't it? Don't Look Up. Because we've managed to penetrate such a small amount of people in this world, and yet this is probably the biggest story and the biggest event that humankind will ever experience, and it is going unheard of. Can you believe that? I want to thank just a few people before I get on with these charts who have chipped in just a few bucks, and it is just a few bucks, and we do a hell of a lot of work. Just to give you an idea, last week, Kendall, you might have heard me mention it in the videos over the last couple of weeks, Kendall in Canada, who's got one of our muon detectors and one of our magnetometers, who sends data regularly back to us on those things that he's monitoring there, had problems with his muon detector. He sent it out to me at the beginning of this week. I got it a day or 2 ago, and today it has been completely repaired. It was just an OLED screen. We replaced the USB lead as well because there was an intermittent fault on that, but we got it cycled in less than a week. He should have it back Monday in Canada, all working, and we can continue with those muon results that we get back from Canada. And the reason why we're looking at muons is because they are subatomic particles that are results of mainly collisions in our upper atmosphere when cosmic rays collide with other particles. And that is how we end up with muons on the surface, and we're studying those because we want to know when, a dangerous level of increase, if not already 20% is enough, but when it gets to a certain level, we can inform people that it has arrived at that point. And that is why we didn't hang about getting that repaired and sent back to Canada. I think it was a good result to get it turned round, sent from Canada to the UK, repaired, restored, and back out to Canada in less than a week. That's the sort of determination that we have here at the observatory, and that we want to continue with, because we actually realise, the detrimental effect it's going to have. Maybe not so much now, and it is a lot now, but this is going to exponentially get much worse. And when people start to realise what's going on, then we're going to start really seeing the panic. So you guys are very fortunate to be sat here right now listening to what I've got to say on these 3 anomalies that we are experiencing for the first time ever, in some circumstances, at least with the magnetic pole reversal, human history has ever experienced or witnessed. So I will mention the link down there in the description if you want to help support us. Big thanks to those few. We did have, I've got to say this, more people than we could measure on one hand, but not 2, unfortunately. So we did do better than what we have done in the last few days. And I can only thank those people, give them a pat on the back, and say kudos to you guys. You know what? You're supporting something that is getting swept completely under the rug right now. What else can I say? Let's get these charts so that we can at least show these new people that have come today some actual facts. And with that, it's an incredible time, isn't it, that we're in right now, and trying to help people understand what times we're in right now, and exactly what we are going to experience as a race of people on this planet, and so proclaimed good stewards of this planet. I think we're doing not such a good job. I wouldn't say a terrible job, because I think we do try sometimes to do our best. I know that most people would choose to do a good thing than rather a bad thing. I believe that anyhow. So yeah, there's a link there if you want to help support what we do. Let's get into some charts so you can see exactly what we're talking about and put some facts down. So let's hit the floor running with all the pin marks going back to even 1820, but it was only since 1900s that the pole really significantly started to show signs of movement towards the east. And as you can see, right up to the present day, we are just surpassing 40 degrees mark, which is the critical mark based on those experiments that we conducted. We monitor that twice a month now. For the 60,000 subscribers that we've got here, and the 20,000 people that view every week the website. So you can check these facts with NASA, the European Space Agency and NOAA. You'll find that where they are, if they're still tracking it recently, because I know that it stopped around about 2015, the public release of those pin marks. At least it wasn't long after then. I'm sure you guys remember that we decided to take upon ourselves and build the only in existence Trimag system, so that we could pinpoint it ourselves for our subscribers and those viewers that come to the website. So you can fact verify this as much as you want. It is going to be found to be accurate and correct, and most importantly up to date. We are experiencing right now a geomagnetic reversal. What you're looking at here is really the Milankovitch cycle. It's a cycle of 100,000 years. Every 100,000 years the planet Earth goes into an interglacial period, usually lasts around 12 to 15,000 years. If you look at the right hand side of the chart, you'll see that we have seen the best of the interglacial period and we are returning back into a glacial period. It is said that we are around 2,000 years, maybe 6,000 to 8,000 years already returned back into this cycle. What I will say is in the last 10 years we've seen a consecutive year on year out increase in Arctic sea ice, which has not been reported by mainstream media. But if you go to the website poleshiftnews.com, look down at sea ice extent charts, you will see a daily updated version of that chart which shows exactly what I've just said. The main point is that we are in now another glacial period, and the temperatures are going to continue to get lower and lower over the northern and southern hemispheres. We are going to see more arable cropping land laid up because it is going to be unusable. So you can check this fact out for yourselves if you don't take my word for it. And here we are showing the last 3 solar cycles, and you can see in concession a rapid dropping off of solar activity in the form of sunspots, and that is what is reducing the heliosphere, allowing galactic cosmic rays inbound into our solar system and interfering with our upper atmosphere, which is weakened. Our primary field is weakened, the magnetosphere, to 20 to 25% at this current point in time, and will decrease further when we start to see the acceleration through the weak field lines, as was mentioned before. Again, if you look at the bottom, this is coming from some of those organisations that would consider them reputable. I know a lot of people wouldn't, but there you go. And then I'm just going to finally end with one question, and that means I've got to show you another chart, so just bear with me. And that question is simple. If we look to the right hand side of the chart where it says present global warming, the temperature is much lower than the medieval period, much lower than the Roman warm period, much lower than the Hallucine warm period. Now the question is, why does Michael Mann, who is the guy that produced the ice hockey stick for the United Nations to support global warming caused by CO2, why did he only choose to go back to the 1900s? When clearly we know that the Industrial Revolution began at the 1760. But even before 1760, as we can see here, the medieval warm period happened, the Roman warm period happened, the Hallucine warm period happened. Surely those warm periods should have driven up CO2 if global warming is responsible for the increase in CO2 in our upper atmosphere. Remember, to start off with, right now it's at 0.04%, which means it's a trace gas. So I just thought I'd leave you with those facts. None of what we're talking about is make-believe. This is all very real, and this is all very real, supported by scientific facts. And on the back of that, there isn't one scientific peer-reviewed paper that supports CO2 driving global temperatures up. So this is hearsay and rumours and hysteria that has got completely out of control to the point where it is damaging our economy. But with the other things, setting this aside because it is relevant really, CO2 and global warming, we're going to be experiencing a return to a glacial period on the back of a geomagnetic reversal during a grand solar minimum. Some people are saying right now, is this guy for real? Well, I'm absolutely real, and I can see why people suggest that when I do these videos it is very much like the film Don't Look Up, because we're just not getting through to people fast enough, and we're just not reaching those people quick enough, and the time is ticking, and there isn't an exponential amount of time. We don't have that much time. So we are very much in critical moments right now. And the more people sit on their arse and do nothing, the more that people will suffer. And it doesn't make no difference whether you are a billionaire or poor, because your money simply won't help you. You're in the same club as everybody else. And it is because there has been a lot of individuals making money on the back of CO2 that topics like this has gone completely under the radar and not been focused on as much as what it should. We're in trouble. Huge trouble. And this is only going to get worse. There's a link down there, guys. You know, I'm still waiting to see, you know, a few more people join us, because we have got an epic summit to climb, and we're at the very bottom at the moment. We haven't even touched 2% of the world's population and informed them of what is really going on and what is really important to them people. So if you want to help support us, the link is down there. I'll say what I usually do: take care of your loved ones, as always. Bye for now.